Happy Thursday. It's the Prop Queen, Ariel Epstein, taking you here on the Prop Queen Pod until maybe about 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to do a little bit of a different show today. So today, I'm previewing all the NFL early props that I like for Week 12, and I'm going to answer all your questions live on the show and using Props.cash. That should be able to help us. So today's show, it is brought to you by Prize Picks. I have to change that because Pick It is the best bet segment. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, and we are going to use Props.cash to help us make our Prize Picks lineup for tonight in Thursday Night Football, and we will answer any of your questions. Did I hit my royal lock, Rudy Gobert? Yes, I did. That was interesting as well, but before I get to what happened last night, and let me just make sure, okay, there's some things that are being updated right now, but before I get to any of that, tonight's show, we're going to talk Thursday Night Football props. I've got a slew of props for tonight. I will answer any of your questions in the chat if you have any. I've also got a bunch of early props to get to for Sunday's slate of games in the NFL. It is Week 12. So I want to answer any of the questions you guys have coming up for Sunday. It is the best to get in early, and that's what we're going to try to do tonight. You're looking slimmer on the podcast? Last night. So I tweeted a little too early, and I thought that maybe I jinxed it. I thought that there was a chance that I jinxed Rudy Gobert because last night on the show, I was like, Rudy Gobert, royal lock, over 22.5 points plus rebounds. And I was really confident in it. And I go to check the ESPN box score in the third quarter, and I'm like, oh my God, he has like 30 points or something. Turns out ESPN decided to swap minutes and points in their box score. So I was looking at the minutes Rudy Gobert played as opposed to the points. So I tweet out that the royal lock cashed, and it in fact did not cash. He was only at about 15 points plus rebounds at the time. Luckily, in the last 2 minutes of the game last night, Rudy Gobert went over 22.5 points plus rebounds. So the gambling gods saved me. Thank goodness that I didn't lose that bet. I would have been so mad if I jinxed myself. I also jinxed the Ravens for the better. That game was still close, Craig. We did sweat that game out. Like, that wasn't the Ravens running away with the game against the Browns. So I might have reverse jinxed it, but not scary. Today might be a mini pod, but I will definitely try to answer some of your questions, but I will go through some of the games, all the games that I thought there were prop edges in. There's definitely some games with question marks. Like, I'm not going to touch props at the moment with the Bengals game or the Steelers game because we still have quarterback question marks. Some believe Joe Burrow will play on Sunday. He was a full participant for the second straight day. I believe Joe Burrow may not play Sunday because if you saw what happened with the San Francisco 49ers with Brock Purdy just a few weeks ago, where they brought Purdy back, the Niners were on a short week. They brought Purdy back on Sunday. He got hurt and couldn't participate in the short week and then ended up being Mac Jones until last week. So Sure, the Bengals would rather send maybe Joe Burrow up against the Patriots before he has to face division foes and the Ravens on the road on Thanksgiving. I would rather start Joe Flacco one more game on Sunday than give Joe Burrow the Thursday instead of making someone coming off a turf toe surgery have to play on a short week. But that's just me, and I'm not paid as much as Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals, so what do I know? Tonight's game is the Buffalo Bills on the road at the Houston Texans. We have seen the line move a point in favor of the Bills from 4.5 to 5.5. Let's talk Thursday Night Football props. So we did see the line move from Thursday Night Football line, 4.5 to 5.5 on the Bills. Total stayed at 43.5. So it is a very low total. And we're going to use a lot of Props.cash today because I did not make any graphics because I had the Ringer, which, by the way, you can look at the Ringer pod we went through if you like more games like against the spread and that kind of stuff. Raheem Palmer, Brian Barrett, and we all went through pretty much a huge slate of the games. So go to the Ringer Sports Gambling show on like Ringer Gambling. You can look up on YouTube, and we go through all the games on there as well. So that's posted. We're live on the FanDuel Sports Network app. You can watch it live 12 to 1 on Thursdays, where I host the show with Raheem Palmer and John Yastrzemski usually, but he was in Madrid, Spain for the Miami Dolphins game. Thursday Night Football. Let's get to Props.cash. Add to stage. There we go. Starting with Davis Mills. So Thursday Night Football prop that I was looking at today was Davis Mills under completions. So when you look at his last two games that he started, he had 27 and 26 completions. Then why is the number down to 19.5? And also, I looked at this yesterday. Yesterday, the number was 20.5 minus 133 to the under. Today, that is now 19.5. I got it at even money last night. You can check out my Pick It Sports page at the Prop Queen. I have it at even money from last night under 19.5, and it's now juiced to around minus 120, minus 130. Or no, so never mind. That's the over. So it's still at even money. You could grab it at for under 19.5 pass completions. Yeah, sure. He had 27 and 26, but again, this number is very low. Looking at, if you come over to this side of Props.cash, this season, that 10% is an over. So only 10% of quarterbacks this year, and that means it was one quarterback this year went over, and you see it right there. Drake May is the only quarterback to go over his completions prop against the Bills this year, and he had a prop of 21.5 and he had 22. Davis Mills turns into a pumpkin tonight. Again, steam on the Bills. You're up against a really tough defense in Buffalo, and I just don't have any faith in Davis Mills to make all those completions. So we're going to go under 19.5 completions at even money. Which Bills receiver will have the big game here? I'll go through my props first, and then we will go through your questions. I don't like betting pass attempt props for quarterbacks under, because if the thought is there to go under, then if the intent is there to throw, then he's going to throw. But at least with completions, I could be relying on, he isn't going to actually complete those passes. So I don't want the intent to be there. In fact, I would rather the pass attempt props to be overs and the completions to go under. Passing yards, you could also look at. Davis Mills is going up against this Bills team that's second least passing yards allowed, 185.8 passing yards allowed. I didn't end up going with that because I think I was looking at passing yards. Yeah, so Michael Penix went over his passing yards prop. So it was like just one, it was a difference of 10% that I said, okay, so if the difference is 10%, he could have one deep throw and that ruins it. But one deep throw is just one completion. So I would rather stick to the completions and worry that the receivers are going to mess up for Davis Mills. Woody Marks, that number also went up a lot. So looking at the Woody Marks prop, rushing yards. Rushing yards for Woody Marks. So that's a lot of unders. So this number has gotten a little bit too extreme for me. I saw it at 58.5 yesterday morning, which was a little bit better if you look at Woody Marks at home, right there. But now it's up to 63.5. So I feel like Woody Marks for me is a no-go. But what I will say, and I hate betting running backs to score touchdowns. If you have a Prize Picks lineup and you're thinking who's going to score a touchdown tonight, the only player I liked on the board was Woody Marks. The Bills and the Texans, surprisingly, actually are pretty much top 10 in touchdowns allowed to every position, except the Bills are actually bottom 10 in touchdowns allowed to running backs. Woody Marks was the only one that fit that narrative. So Woody Marks stood out to me for a touchdown. So Woody Marks scored a touchdown at home, 2 of 5 games, not great. Prime time, nothing really. 1 of 2 primetime games. At home primetime, he didn't score. But if you look at touchdowns against the Bills here on Props.cash, you'll see, so tight ends, only 4% had a touchdown. Running backs, 36%. Wide receivers, 18%. and quarterbacks were 22%. So the highest percentage of running backs to score, of players to score against the Bills was the running back position. So that's why I liked Woody Marks the most to score a touchdown tonight. Hence Uncle Ted. Woody Marks. Let's see. I'm just making sure which Bills receiver will have the big game. We could look at that in just a little bit. Oh my God, sorry guys. I'm so behind on the chat. The other thing that stood out was Dalton Schultz. So Dalton Schultz receiving yards. Dalton Schultz. So I was looking at Schultz under 37 receiving yards because the Bills this year have actually allowed the least receiving yards per game to tight ends at 27 yards a game. Dalton Schultz against the Bills faced them once. He had 34-yard catch. Look at the tight ends. That's almost 70% of tight ends have gone under their prop against the Bills this year. Dalton Schultz, 2025. He's had some pretty good home numbers, but two of five home games. And those are the last two games that he's had Davis Mills. So what do you think that the Bills are going to do? Oh, Dalton Schultz has been one of the favorite targets of Davis Mills. We're going to stop him. We're really good against tight ends because they have great linebackers like Matt Milano. Having a linebacker like Matt Milano to stop Dalton Schultz is going to be huge. I'm going under on Dalton Schultz tonight. That number at 39.5 is just too high. I'm a little nervous. It was 37.5 yesterday, so that is a little alarming. I wanted to fade Josh Allen, but I just can't do it. His primetime numbers are so good. Houston's allowed the fourth least completions and fourth least passing yards per game. But Josh Allen in primetime has just been so good. Like, when you look at his props in primetime alone, let's see, primetime last on the road. Like, he tends to throw a lot. It's not great, but he throws a lot more on the road. But I guess away, prime time, there is some red. 4 of the last 5 have gone under pass attempts, have gone under completions, have gone under passing yards. I guess the narrative you could follow is if you believe the Bills win and they cover handily and destroy the Houston Texans in Houston, then you're banking on Josh Allen to take such a lead that he doesn't have to throw the football anymore. So again, Houston has allowed the fourth least completions and passing yards per game. Their defense has been good, so maybe they do, on a low total of 43.5, limit Josh Allen from throwing the football. But that'll be a tough task. So I think that Josh Allen unders are probably out of the equation for me just because he's Josh Allen. I know it's terrible. I was also looking at James Cook under rushing yards. Houston's led the third least rushing yards per game to running backs, but let's see, James Cook. That all goes with the narrative too. Like, do you believe that the Bills will take such a lead that they have to run the football? And then you're worried about James Cook running the football and going over this number because he gets to run the football a lot in the fourth quarter. So that's where my fear is. And that depends on where your narrative is for this game. Are the Bills going to cover this spread, or are they going to have a close game with a really good Texans defense? Texans defense has been great, but the Bills defense is good. So are the Bills going to force the Texans to get off the field on a lot of 3 and outs? And that's my concern, because then the defense gets tired, which is why I'm looking at a defensive player prop. So if you go to defensive player props here on Props.cash, they added more. So I was looking at what position tackles the Bills the most, because if I believe that the Bills are going to keep the Texans off the field their offense off the field, that means that the Texans defense will be on the field a lot. So I want a Texans defender that's going to be on the field a lot. And that's Azeez Al-Shaair, who is been not this year. Look at this. They're home in prime time. 3 straight games at home in prime time. He's gone over this, and 5 of the last 7 prime time games, he's gone over 7.5 total tackles. It's a high number, but linebackers tend to tackle the Bills more. And I love defensive player props. I also think prime time is such a key stat, especially for defensive players and kickers, because it shows you the tendencies. So like a few years ago, the Bucs linebacker Devin White at the time. I was crushing his over total tackles in prime time. He just played great in prime time. Ed Reed played great in prime time. Like, there are certain players that just play great in prime time. Azeez Al-Shaair. I was looking at all the other Houston Texans players, and nobody had good numbers in prime time. So I'm going to go with the linebacker, because if the Bills do have a lead, first off, you've got basically two running backs. You've got Josh Allen at quarterback, who's mobile, and you've got James Cook. Most likely James Cook's running it up the gut, and Josh Allen would run it outside. Al-Shaair is more of a middle linebacker, so if you think that the Bills do somewhat take a lead and they're going to run clock and it's going to be James Cook, you're going to rack up these tackles. So Azeez Al-Shaair to go over his total tackles of 7.5. I know it's a high number, but I'm expecting the Texans defense to have to be on the field a lot with the Bills dominating time of possession tonight. So I like a lot of Houston props, a lot of unders, and then the defensive overs. I'm definitely playing game script. You could look to some Josh Allen props as well for those unders if you do feel Houston could keep this close. I was trying to find some kicker props, but I just couldn't find any that I loved because Ka'imi Fairbairn's coming off of an injury. And can the Texans get into field goal range for him enough to go over? I think it was, 2.5, 1.5. So for him to kick 2 field goals or 3 field goals, whatever, I think it was 2.5. And I didn't really love the other side for the Bills. There was nothing there that showed me that the Bills tend to kick field goals in prime time. In fact, they do go for a decent amount with Josh Allen being able to kind of quarterback sneak it, kind of a tush push, mostly quarterback sneak. And I have doubts that the Ravens would have won that game if Gabriel didn't exit. Shedeur looked terrible. We'll go talk about some of those games coming up this weekend in a little bit. I'll give you an early look into some of these games. Some of the props that I like. 49ers, stream kickers, and defense like they're a fantasy team. That's true. If Burrow isn't playing Sunday, why is he taking all the snaps? Well, Joe Flacco also never practices on Wednesdays, so they put Burrow in there. And obviously, Joe Burrow is still your starting quarterback. Like, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. It's just a matter of if, like Dr. Chow says, 3 people have to agree. The agent, the head coach, and the GM, I think, are the 3 people that Dr. Chow says have to agree on a player starting. And if one disagrees, then he doesn't start. So they all have to agree that Joe Burrow is ready to go on Sunday. And my hunch is that they want him ready to go Thursday Night Football against the Ravens on Thanksgiving. Or Joe Burrow might be wanting to go on Thanksgiving. I mean, what better way to come back? But maybe he wants to get his feet wet first. Joe Burrow. That's a good one. Let's see. You like Mills over passing yards? Oh boy, why? I guess you feel like he could attack the Bills' good pass D? How? Would I start or sit Josh Allen? Well, who's your other guy, Craig? Who else do you have? Who is your anytime touchdown? So I didn't contribute one because someone already said Woody Marks. He would be the only person that I would bet on for an anytime touchdown tonight. Josh Allen over 4 at energy. Ooh, that's interesting. Interesting stat. The bookmakers are trying to trap you. Why are they trying to trap me? I don't think they're trying to trap me at all. I think that they're telling us that Davis Mills has overachieved through the last couple of weeks. Now he's getting a really tough challenge in the Bills defense. Allen over passing yards. So we were just looking at this before. I'm sorry if I'm repeating any questions, but we could go and dive into Props.cash. And I was looking at Josh Allen's over passing yards against other good teams. But Josh Allen on the road, he's gone under this in 4 of the last 5 on the road in prime time. And I was looking on the road in a short week. He's gone over in 2 of 3 on a short week. And I was looking at that, actually. I forgot that I was looking at the short week stats. Let's see what Cook does on short weeks. Cook, short week on the road, because I think that's important on the road on a short week. Cook's gone under 78.5 rushing yards in both of his short weeks on the road. And just to take it out, just to see, 3 of 4 went under on a short week for James Cook. So clearly they do tend to throw the football more, the Bills, when they're on a short week. So I think that that's pretty telling too. I just like to look for tendencies. So there is a chance, for sure. Buffalo's defense did not look so great against Tampa last Sunday. Houston's got Davis Mills, though. Like, I don't trust Davis Mills under center. I don't trust that against one of his favorite targets in Dalton Schultz that the Bills are going to be able to do that. I think Buff gives up the run. They're really bad against running backs in the red zone. So, Marks, I like to get you 40 to 50. Lowest in the market, 60.5 for Marks. James Cook. I don't like the Texans have been good against running backs. And again, Kaimi Fairbairn was the one that stood out the most to me, but it's just a matter of if you feel that they could get into the red zone. So I'll show you how really good field goals, Fairbairn. Look at how good his numbers are at home in prime time. 3 of the last 4 at home in prime time. Kaimi Fairbairn went over. But remember, he's coming off injury, so just be careful. Okay, well, he's not healthy. Texans have the fewest yards per game allowed in the last 15. That's interesting. Never trust a Thursday night game. I agree. That's why I like a lot of unders. It's a low total on a Thursday night football game, guys. I'm just trying to get through all the questions real quick, so this way I could get to the rest of the slate, because then we could go to the rest of the slate. Woody Marks against the Bills zone. Line went down to 6.5. No difference. Oh, okay. Christian Kirk over 1.5 receptions. That seems kind of low. Christian Kirk. You guys know that in prime time I love longest reception props, though. Christian Kirk. Oh, look at that. Christian Kirk in prime time over 1.5 receptions. But again, that's with his quarterback, CJ Stroud. But let's look recently. So he's gone under. He's had 1 reception in both of the 2 games with Davis Mills. So if you want to take that risk, because they are at home in prime time, look at that. At home in prime time. 5 of the last 6 went over for Christian Kirk of 1.5 receptions. What we can also do here on Props.cash is you could go to without CJ Stroud. But that's all relative to your backup. 4 of the last 7 went over for Christian Kirk at home, prime time. Even without CJ Stroud. So, obviously, it's a different game. That's a different team, obviously. So, yeah. I mean, I guess he likes to do well in prime time. So, if you want to take that risk on Davis Mills, it's only 2 catches. So, I don't hate it because he clearly doesn't mind the prime time. But again, it's a different team. So, we have to take that into consideration. But he does do well in prime time. So, 3 days rest, too. He doesn't mind, clearly. I mean, again, different teams. But 3 days rest, maybe we use a secret weapon that no one's used yet in Christian Kirk. I don't mind it. And it's only minus 130, probably minus 135 range. And again, you could use Props.cash for yourself. If you go to Props.cash and use promo code PropQueen, you get 50% off of your first month. And you can see all of this and play around with all of this on your own. Chubb's over. 7 straight quarterbacks to top 213. Knox longest reception. Let's take a look at Knox in prime time. Knox longest reception. Prime time. Not great. Not great. Let's see other longest reception props for this game. Projected. Nico Collins obviously is up there. Let's see what his numbers are. Again, that's with CJ Stroud, though. So let's try to focus on Bills players. Keon Coleman. Prime time away. Nope, not great. Khalil Shakir. Prime time away. Better. Khalil Shakir could be an option over 19.5. Away. 3 days rest. 1 of 2. Prime time. 3 days rest, which would probably be Thursday Night Football. 2 of 3. So Khalil Shakir as your deep threat tonight could be an option. Let's see. I know Gabe Davis is getting activated. So yeah, Khalil Shakir stands out to me for the Bills. I do like the Fairbairn number as long as you don't mind that he was just hurt. So I did see this about Gabe Davis. They just posted, and Domantas Sabonis to miss at least 3 to 4 weeks with a partially torn meniscus for all you NBA lovers out there. Gabe Davis is officially active tonight. The Bills placed Mecole Hardman on the IR and elevated Gabe Davis. So Gabe Davis is active. Again, do we want to take a chance on somebody who's coming off injury? That's a question you have to find out, but we can look up Gabe Davis. And then, yes, there probably is propaganda. I have to just make sure that he posted it. Longest reception. I just saw you, Gabe Davis. Prime time. His last 2 went over in prime time. On the road, went over on a 3 days rest. So if you want to take a risk on the Gabe Davis number because he's coming off injury and you think he could still go deep, then be my guest. I don't like to back guys who are coming off injury because you just don't know how limited they'll be. I know, but they said receptions, so he doesn't need the yardage technically. I don't really bet first half receiving yards. Slot receivers for the Texans tonight. Xavier over 1.5. Nico in the slot. Shawn Michael is back, guys. Shawn Michael is back. Wow. That's huge. Mark's going to be excited. JJ McCarthy. Oh, boy. Jameen said Amon Kirk under 15.5. Schultz under 39.5. Shakir under 44.5. Okay. Good luck. I'm going to go check right now and see. Oh, my God. My computer keeps telling me there's updates, and I don't care. I'm not updating my computer. Let's see if John Ewing posted any kind of propaganda. He's got college basketball. Bills. Here we go. We've got a few of them. 99% of props. Wow. Okay. 99% of money. Most bet on props. I don't know if these are the same. I should check. Are those the same? Okay. Some are 99% of the money is on them, and then others are the most bet on props. We've got 2 propagandas for props. Oh, sorry, Sean. You didn't tell us you were in the hospital for 4 weeks. So sorry to hear that. Hope you're feeling better. Everyone say, I hope you're feeling better. Everyone's happy you're back. Earl's happy. Mark's happy. Everyone's happy that Sean is back. Yes. So, Jessica, I'm going to post those now. I just snapshotted them. So, let's get to propaganda. Okay, so it's the most bet on props from over at BetMGM. Propaganda time. Do we fade the public or are they right? I just had to tweet that out. 99% of the money is on Woody Marks over rushing yards, Nico Collins over receptions, James Cook over receiving yards, and Jaden Higgins over 2.5 receptions. The most bet on props, Woody Marks over rushing yards, Shavers over receiving yards, Higgins over receiving yards, Nico Collins over receptions, and Josh Allen under passing attempts. Interesting. So again, the Woody Marks one, now I feel like everyone's so public on it, so I'd rather just do an anytime touchdown prop. We didn't look up Shavers or Higgins. Collins is just so public, like obviously. Anything getting 99% of money, Jessica says, is just crazy town. I know. And we didn't really look up James Cook over his receiving yards yet. So let me see real quick. Those are always nail biters. The James Cook receiving yards is always a freaking nail biter. It's not good. Look at this. Oops, wrong thing. Share screen. So that's on 3 days rest. We could take out 3 days rest and go to prime time on the road. Okay, not bad prime time on the road. But the 3 days rest is a little... Oh, that one went over. Okay. The public likes it. The public likes it. It's done well on the road in prime time, so maybe Josh Allen likes to dump the ball off. But I'm going to look up... I feel like I looked this up, and let me see what the Texans' pressure rate and blitz rate is right now. So the Texans... Let me see. Texans. They're kind of middle to bottom of the pack in blitz rate and pressure rate. So is he going to have to feel the pressure and dump the ball off? Not so sure. Oh, thanks. You go gun catch, fort catch. He's so public. But anyway, James Cook always scares the crap out of me, but the public really likes him to go over his receiving yards tonight at 99% of the money. So I probably am going to stay away from that. I would probably just stick to Woody Marks to score a touchdown tonight. I'm going to go through the rest of the slate in the NFL. I'm not going to touch the Pittsburgh-Chicago game yet, but just so you know, in regards to Chicago, for their quarterback, Caleb Williams, Pittsburgh's allowed the most completions, most pass attempts, most passing yards to quarterbacks this year. So if you want to look at some Caleb Williams overs, be my guest, but the line did move a half a point against them. So be wary of that. Looking into the Sunday Week 12 NFL slate of props now to the early. Okay, looking into the Sunday Week 12 NFL slate of early props now. Okay, just like to get some tweets out. Why are the Jaguars -2.5 against? Don't bait me into those stupid cards again. Do not. It's been 2 straight weeks that I have now backed the Cardinals. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to stay off, and I'm going to watch the Cardinals win this game outright, because that's what's going to happen once I lay off the Cardinals. Because it's been 2 straight weeks that I'm like, okay, it's against Seattle, I thought. Then they got blown out. Last week, I thought Cardinals. I mean, that was just weird against Seattle. Blown out. This week, I feel the same freaking thing. And guess what? I'm going to lay off of it, and we all know what's going to happen. So that one is very sketchy to me. Anyway, staying away from Pittsburgh, Chicago for now. Staying away from New England, Cincy for now, because we don't know who's starting at quarterback for Cincinnati. Giants and Lions. Giants and Lions and Bears. Oh, my. This one's easy for me. The Giants suck against the run. They're really bad. They've been bad for 2 years. Really bad against the run. So what are we going to do? Oh, there's Marley. I wasn't sure where she was. Marley's laying down. What are we going to do? We're going to back Jahmyr Gibbs at home. Over 74.5 rushing yards. Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, I'll pull up Props.cash. I hate not having graphics. Let's go. Rushing yards. So when you look at him home, Jahmyr Gibbs, at home this year, he's averaging 86.5 rushing yards a game this year, going over in 3 of 4 games. If you go and scroll down, you will see that against the Giants this year, running backs, 61% of them have gone over, or 60% of them have gone over their rushing yard prop this year. Surprise, surprise. The Giants have allowed the 3rd most rushing yards per game to running backs at just under 117 rushing yards a game. Jahmyr Gibbs, when he's up against the bottom 10 run D since the start of 2024, is averaging 88 rushing yards a game. So we're going to take the over on Jahmyr Gibbs, and those Lions are going to run up the score. Lions team total over seems like a great bet. The Lions are home. Jared Goff plays better at home. Some other props you could look at. So the Giants have allowed the most rushing yards to quarterbacks if you think that Goff could scramble. I also was looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown over 23.5 receiving yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown over his longest reception prop of 23.5. But he's kind of inconsistent. However, Amon-Ra St. Brown has gone over this in 3 of 4 home games, averaging 26.3 yards per longest catch. I'll show you on for any visual learners out there like myself. Look, at home, averaging 26 yards per longest catch, going over in 3 of his 4 this year, dating back to last year. So his last 10, 7 of 10 went over at home, averaging 30 yards per longest catch at home. You could do at home on Sunday. That's not as much, unfortunately. So that's something that you could definitely Marley. Casey needed a win. Okay, just catching up on the chat. Detroit's also allowed the Giants have allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to wide receivers. 60% of wide receivers have gone over their longest reception prop against the Giants. So you have to assume that they're blowing coverage somewhere against somebody of these deep threats, especially because Jared Goff loves to throw deep at home inside the dome. Detroit, 5th least rushing attempts allowed to running backs. Detroit, least receiving yards per game allowed to running backs. So Tyron Tracy Jr., you could look at maybe an under for receiving yards for him. They allow 20 receiving yards a game to running backs. I also saw, now going over to the Green Bay, Minnesota game, where the Packers are laying 6.5 at home against their rivals, the Vikings. It was a low total, 42.5 dropped to 41.5. The one that stood out to me in that game was J.J. McCarthy actually rushing yards, and we go under. So looking at J.J. McCarthy, he's done well, right? He's done well this year running the football. He's gone over a bunch. However, he's up against the Packers, who have allowed the least rushing yards per game to quarterbacks at 9 rushing yards to QBs. Even though McCarthy's averaging 22 rushing yards a game this year, he's actually gone under in 2 of the 3 divisional games, and 80% of quarterbacks have gone under their rushing yard prop against Green Bay. So look at the divisional games. His divisional games, 2 of 3 went under. And then you go to, where are we? This season, quarterbacks, or that's running backs. Quarterbacks, 80% have gone under their, I'm on rush attempt. Oh yeah, rushing yards. 80% have gone under their rushing yard prop against the Packers. So J.J. McCarthy under his rushing yards prop is something that I was looking at as well. Seattle, Tennessee, I don't care. This is a double-digit spread. Oh, Indy and KC. That's a fun one. Indy, KC is fun. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites at home against Indianapolis. This is the game that we're going to find out if the Colts are actually legit or not. Patrick Mahomes over his pass completions. Again, you're laying 3.5, so clearly they are high on Patrick Mahomes in this spot. Completions. So look at Mahomes' completions at home. Throughout his last 10 home games, he's gone over in 8 of 10, averaging 27.5 completions. Oh, that's the division. Sorry. At home this season, 3 of 5 went over. And then I did the math myself on against a bottom 10 pass D. Let me see if I'll snapshot this for you guys. This is my own math that I sometimes, if props, like I like to compare how they've done against similar defenses, aka bad ones, or here. So these are my numbers for Patrick Mahomes against a bottom 10 pass D. So that's through the last couple of seasons. He's averaging in 8 games, 26.5 completions, just under 37 pass attempts, and just under 290 passing yards with a longest throw of just under 39 yards against bottom 10 pass Ds. And the Colts this year have allowed the 3rd most completions per game. They were bottom 10 against the pass. 80% of quarterbacks have actually gone over their completion prop against Indy. In fact, only Michael Penix Jr. and Tua Tagovailoa went under their completion prop against Indy. Mahomes is much better than those two. So Patty Mahomes to go over his completions prop, I'm pretty sure I bet. I have to look at my Pickett app, but I'm pretty sure I bet it. Another player that stood out to me was Travis Kelce. So I know that that's public to be giving out Taylor Swift's fiance, and no one wants to hear it. I love fading Travis Kelce, but this week I can't. So I'll show you why. He's done really well at home. Travis Kelce. Ooh, did that go up? Yeah, damn. It was okay. So Kelce this morning was 49.5. He's already on the rise to 51.5. Look at those home numbers for Travis Kelce. And then you compare it to the road numbers. I mean, he's had a good season, but 4 of the 5 at home this year went over. But the reason I'm really looking at it is because the Colts have allowed the second most receiving yards per game to tight ends at just under 73 receiving yards. Kelce's averaging 61 yards per his 7 games when facing a team that's bottom 10 against tight ends. 69% of tight ends have gone over their receiving yard prop against Indy this year. So I'm going to take a look at Kelce over his receiving yards. One prop you're not going to like is that Jonathan Taylor's number is really freaking high. Let's go to rushing yards. His splits are pretty drastic this year. 2025 at home, he's averaging 137 rushing yards. On the road, averaging 79. And look at that, only 50%. He's 50-50. And then at home, he's gone over much more. Jonathan Taylor's running the football a lot more at home this year. So I would be taking a look at Jonathan Taylor under, especially against the Chiefs D that's allowed the 5th least rushing yards per game to running backs at about 75 rushing yards a game. 63% of running backs have gone under their rushing yard prop against Kansas City. Ooh, the toilet bowl. Toilet bowl game. Cleveland and Vegas. Cleveland's D has been good. Now, I've got a lot of friends who are sharp on Vegas this week. They bet Vegas on Sunday. I don't care. Geno Smith under 218.5 passing yards. He has been so bad. Nope, not what I want. Not what I want. Let's go. Toilet bowl. Geno Smith. So since the start of last year, Geno Smith against bottom 10 pass Ds, this is my own math, he's averaging 215 passing yards against teams that are top 10, not bottom 10. Against teams that are top 10 against the pass, Geno Smith's averaging 215 passing yards a game. On the road, he's averaging 218 passing yards a game this year, but at home, which is where they are in Vegas, he's averaging 199 passing yards a game. Home games, 198.6 passing yards a game. Cleveland's allowed the least passing yards per game, and 60% of quarterbacks have gone under their prop this year. Look at that. 60%. That's 40 over. So 60% have gone under their passing yard prop this year against the Cleveland Browns. Geno Smith under passing yards stood out. I am not betting anything in the Jacksonville, Arizona game. Philly and Dallas is a good one. I have to actually check. I'm very curious. Let me just see before I say something. Receiving yards. Okay, no. See, I thought it was a mess up, but it's not. Ooh. So Javonte Williams, I bet his over 7.5 receiving yards. It went up to 8.5 today. He's averaging 12.5 receiving yards a game at home this year. He faced Philly earlier this season. He had 2 catches for 10 yards. But last year, when Javonte Williams faced the 2 teams that are bottom 10 against pass-catching backs, he had 2 catches against Baltimore for 42 yards, 4 catches for 29 yards against Tampa. And Philly's allowed the 4th most receiving yards per game to running backs. So that's definitely something to keep a lookout on when you look at Javonte Williams over on his receiving yards. It hasn't been good lately, but I think that it could have a shot. The one prop I like the most in this game, because Jake Ferguson I wanted to fade again because Philly has the 2nd least receiving yards allowed per game to tight ends. You know what? Let me see how he did. Jake Ferguson. How did he do in game 1? I hit the Ferguson under last week. See, he went under in game 1. I will never bet what happened in game 1. I will never bet again what happened in game 1 to happen again in game 2. So if you see there on game 1, he went under against Philly. So I'm not going to bet a Jake Ferguson under again. What I will do, because something that didn't happen in game 1, this is my favorite play of this game. Jalen Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Look at his numbers against Dallas. 4 of the 6 went over 1.5 passing touchdowns against Dallas. And he didn't have a passing touchdown in game 1. Let's see, on the road, 2 of 3. He had at least 2 touchdowns in Dallas. On the road this year, meh. But I really like him in Jerry World to throw at least 2 touchdowns. So those numbers for Jalen Hurts look really good against the division rival. Let me just see. Let's go to last 10 division games. Meh. Okay, not great. But his numbers against Dallas are good. And I left out the most important part. Dallas has allowed the most passing touchdowns this year. The most. So it's a good matchup. They're second. Even though they're better, their defense got better. But it's a divisional game. The same things don't happen twice. I do believe in Jalen Hurts. 70% of quarterbacks have gone over 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Cowboys this year. I'm staying away from the Saquon over receiving yards because he did go over in game 1. And again, I don't like for the same thing to happen twice, but Dallas does allow the 3rd most receiving yards per game to running backs. Staying away from the Atlanta-New Orleans game because it's Kirk Cousins for a start. Tampa and LA. This is another fun one. 49.5 total. 6.5 point spread. Rams favored at home. I really love Matt Stafford. Nope, wrong game. Sunday Night Football. Passing yards. Mr. Matthew Stafford. Prime time. At home. Last 10. Averaging. 270 passing yards a game in his last 10 primetime home games. So when you look at the Bucs, 5th most passing yards per game allowed. This season, 60% of quarterbacks have gone over their passing yard prop when facing Tampa Bay. That team is banged up. Matthew Stafford's at home. And when you look at the numbers against teams that are bottom 10 against the pass, dating back to the beginning of last year, Matthew Stafford's averaging 309 passing yards a game when facing a team bottom 10 against the pass when Stafford's at home. 309 passing yards a game. In fact, he's averaging, if you look at the head-to-head numbers against Tampa, 291 passing yards a game against the Bucs, dating back to 2021, 2022, and yeah. So it's been a few years, but he's got good history, so I don't really care. It's been a few years, but still. Again, Tampa, 5th most passing yards a game allowed to quarterbacks this year. Baker Mayfield, his pass attempts was another one. So you're a 6.5 point dog, which means you're probably going to have to throw the football. Baker on the road. Where was it? Baker on the road in prime time. 38 and 50. 38 and 50 this year for Baker on the road in prime time. And even here, you could do it like in a loss. 3 of the 4. So you're a 6.5 point dog. So if you think the Bucs lose this game, Baker throws from behind, obviously, and the Rams allow the 5th most pass attempts per game. 36 pass attempts per game is what the Rams allow. 70% of quarterbacks have gone over their pass attempt prop when facing the Rams this year. Baker Mayfield of late, just to keep a lookout, he only had 28 last week against Buffalo, 43 the week before. On the road this year, averages 34. Playing from behind, Baker's going to have to throw. So I'm going to go with the over 33.5 pass attempts for Baker Mayfield. That's all I've got for you guys today. I went through all these early props, and you could check it out. If you missed anything, you could check it out on the YouTube page at Prop Queen Media. Prop Queen Media. Check it out on the YouTube page if you missed anything and want to go back and rewatch so that you could see and get ahead of the lines before they move come Sunday. I guess it's time for my best bet of the day. I'll do it for Thursday Night Football, even though I kind of mentioned it. So in case you missed it, it is time for Royal Logs. My Royal Lock of the day, which I should have posted a Picket Bet slip. Royal Lock of the day is brought to you by Picket Sports. It's Davis Mills to go under. 19.5 completions at even money. He had 27 and 26 this year, but now it's down to 19.5. Bills' second least completions per game allowed at just under 17 completions a game. Only one quarterback this year has even gone over their completion prop. Only one, and that was Drake May. He went over by 21.5. He had 22 completions. Everyone else went under against the Bills. Davis Mills, under his completions tonight. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk some NFL. We'll talk NBA. We'll recap Thursday Night Football. Good luck to your bets tonight. Hasta mañana.